And I did it. Yay. That was a close call. I realized I was out of my drink. As soon as we got there. So, anyway, welcome everybody to another Game Vault podcast stream. I'm your host, Mark. It's going to be weird for the audio viewers. Just to let you know, that little opening in the front there, I had to run off and get something to drink before the podcast started, and I tried to make it back in time before the music ended. So, I do apologize for that weird opening. But I was coming in hot, as they say. How's everybody doing out there? Probably going to be a slightly shorter. There wasn't much news, mainly because SGF was last week. But I got some things to talk about up front in terms of games I played, which things I just played literally before this podcast. And, getting ready for things coming up. Hopefully everybody is having a good time out there. It's middle of June. It's June 15th. And yeah, we're getting closer to Death Stranding 2 on the channel. I am excited. I got my Comic-Con tickets today, so everything's coming up, Mark. Yeah. So, without further ado, I have been playing mainly outside of the stream. Like on Monday, we're still playing Jaws. I'll start with that. Jaws is a game that should be beaten in about 10 minutes, roughly 10-13 minutes, something like that. Casually, not casually, if you know what you're doing, casually. You can probably speedrun it faster than that if you really know what you're doing. But we're on episode 3 of it coming up on Monday, or next Monday. Tonight is probably going to be our retro roulette game. So I won't ruin that for the podcast if you haven't listened to Podcast Prime yet. But yeah, so tonight will be what got chosen for our Game Club monthly game for Podcast Prime. And then next week we'll get back to Jaws and see if I can beat it. It is frustrating me, but literally, it's the last thing. So, if you've never played Jaws, and this is for people that haven't joined the stream, haven't heard me talk about this before. At the end, the last final thing you have to do in Jaws is Jaws comes towards you in a boat. It's like, not side-scrolling anymore. It's, I don't know how to describe it in terms of, it's still 2D. It doesn't feel 3D. Maybe it is. I don't know. But anyway, so Jaws coming towards you. And you, at the moment he gets right near your boat, you have to hit A, right, because it's BA. Hit A to flash to get him to come out of the water. And then you need to get your boat and hit him. But he can only, there's only one spot on the screen where he can be for you to kill him. If you look at the screen next time you watch me stream, or if you have the game yourself or you watch other people, each line in the water there's a black line. Now the only place you can kill him is on the black line closest to you, and he needs to be on that line. Or I guess a pixel or something near. But anyway, he has to be near there, and you have to be lined up dead center on him, and as he's fully out of the water, hit him. So it's such an NES game in that it's meant for you to keep replaying it over and over and over again. And yeah, it's frustrating, but we will get it. We'll get it done. So I can cross that off my list of games I've beaten. And then on Saturday, if you were here live, we got back to Trails in the Sky. We got some more tits on stream. And realized that I had not played that game since April 18th. 4/18. That was the last time we saved. That I literally rewatched the end of my last YouTube video from part 10. And at the end, I'm like, I think Claire Obscura comes out. I think I even say Claire Obscura, like I was doing for a while. It's like, oh, I think it comes out like next week or something. So Yeah, we'll be starting that, and then we'll be back here doing this and doing both games. That didn't happen. I just played Expedition 33 all the way through before even getting back to Trails. But yeah, got back and played 3 hours without even realizing it. Like, literally, Trails has the thing where it can either feel like the longest 90 minutes, or it can feel like the shortest 3 hours. It's such a weird game in that sense, at least when I'm streaming it. Because I've had some things where I'm just like, I'm just done. Like, I want to go to bed. Like, literally, during the game. And last night I was like, oh shit, we've gone 3 hours. Might as well end here. We just finished the chapter. So, yeah, we're on chapter 3 there. So, we're getting there. Not going to spoil anything that happened. Even though it's a really old game. Relatively speaking. But I'm enjoying it. I had to get back into my not being able to dodge or parry an attack coming in. Because I instinctively went to hit the R1, L1 button. I play with a different controller on PC, so trying to remember which button's which. On the first attack, and was like, oh, nope, can't parry these. Gotta just take it. So, yeah. And realized that we're probably... If I remember the last Trails, we got all the way through to the final boss and literally needed an upgrade. I needed to grind to get a certain spell to beat the final boss. I kind of hope that does not happen again. So, we'll see. But yeah, we're working our way through that. And then today, during my free time, I was sitting around just going, I want to play something. So I went through, like 4 games in the last 2 days. I started off with my sports stuff. I had downloaded NBA 2K5 and literally started a WNBA season and played as the Indiana Fever and was just launching deep 3-pointers with Caitlin Clark on almost every possession. Got kind of bored of that after a while. Just because NBA 2K, unless you're really into it, it's probably the same way with FIFA and NHL that I'm really into. That if you don't get really into it to learn the controls outside of your simple pass, shoot, dribble, the game gets kind of boring and frustrating because you can't do the things you want, but the game wants you to, learn how to do a Euro step or a hesitation or, any one of the kind of crossover dribbles or, step backs. They want you to know how to do that button combination to do that to make the game flow well. And if you don't know how to do that and you're just basically pressing forward and then doing one simple crossover and then hitting the shoot button, it kind of loses it a little bit. People probably feel the same way if they just want to shoot and pass in hockey and don't understand, the deking and controlling your stick and sort of protecting the puck and all that stuff. Same with soccer, or protecting the ball. So I get it. Not disparaging it. Great game still, but played that for a little bit. Then I played my NHL 25, played like 4 or 5 games. I'm like, I gotta play something else because I'm gonna play this anyway. I have all this free time until Death Stranding 2 comes out. And I have a little bit more time now that softball and high school and all that stuff is over. So I turned on my Switch, the original Switch, and was just like, I'm just going to play some Mario Kart 8. I've been watching people play Mario Kart World. I got a little Mario Kart itch going. Load that up and play through, I think it's 5 cups, 6 cups? Whatever it is for each CC, and I play through all of them for 100 CC. With Link and doing all that, and it's fun. It's great. I was even thinking about jumping in online, but then I remembered, I think I canceled Nintendo Switch Online, because I don't use it, ever. So, yeah, so I just, played through that. That took most of my Saturday. Between, hanging out with people and doing stuff. That was most of my free time, outside of normal chores and things that a 40-year-old should be doing. So today I got up and, finished laundry, all that stuff. Just like, I gotta find something just to take up my afternoon. Just, you know, um, got back from softball and, did laundry in the morning, went to softball, lost our first game, so I came back. And then I'm just like, all right, I have an entire afternoon now to sort of just, play something. And I just randomly decided to just continue my playthrough of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. And I say that kind of in quotes because all I did was play the Animal Crossing S minigame for 6 hours. And did nothing else. So I didn't actually play the actual game. So maybe I'll get back to playing the actual game, but I just needed something to just turn my brain off. After for just 6 hours just to kind of do that. But that mini game is addictive, just like every one of the other mini side business games that they have in those in Yakuza and Like a Dragon. I could just play an entire, like, you give me a $10 game that's just that side mini game. I would buy it and play it. Like, I got obsessed with the real estate thing in the last one. Yakuza 0 had the hostess bar. There's like a construction company at some point, I think, in one of them. But the thing is pretty cool. It's very repetitive, and you just sort of get a pattern, and then every time you go up a level, your pattern changes, and they sort of integrate the Pokemon, Digimon thing that they have, or the fighting people, with this mode, so you can make them stronger by having them here and improve it that way, and that's a good way to sort of blend them together. But yeah, so I played 6 hours of that. It's really fun. I am a guy that can get kind of sucked into things like that. Like, you think your city builders and stuff, which is a little different, but sort of just give me a task and a group of things and a goal to head towards too, and I will sit there and do that for hours on end. So that led me to about 7 o'clock tonight. I decided to pick up a few of the demos. I'm going to play some more afterwards, so we'll talk about them next week. Some of the demos from Steam Next Fest. And first off, I played Dispatch, which I am definitely purchasing when it comes out. That game is like 100% my shit. It's made from like the Telltale people, or people that were on Telltale, because it says like Wolf Among Us and I think they mentioned Walking Dead, but it's those guys. So it's like, choose dialogue options and do things. They had this person will remember that moment. So I'm very much on board. The gameplay is you're basically a dispatch at a superhero in a city for superheroes. But you take over a like Suicide Squad, for lack of a better term for it. And you're like a motley crew of people, and you basically get things come up on a screen. You click it, and then you decide who to send out on there. And there's keywords in the report that sort of let you know who to send or who's sort of to send. And there's leveling up those people. If you get it right, they get a lot of experience points and something like that. And there's also story going on while you're doing that between the characters on this, basically Discord call, essentially. And yeah, characters seem really good so far. All of them are unique enough, and enough that I want to find out about them when the full game comes out. The humor is real good. It's very much my humor. So So I am excited about that game. I think it's a game I could dive into. It could be a game that could end up in my top 5 very easily if it comes out this year. Um, but yeah, it's not a game that I don't think will threaten my top 3, which essentially, barring any surprises, are 3 games we already know about. 2 of them I'm playing on stream. So um, yeah, but it's very good. And then I picked up another one on the recommendation of just listening to the Nextlander podcast, and Alex Navarro said that this game, Ball Cross Pit, is like taking over his life, this demo. And I can see why. And me and him are usually simpatico in terms of we both got into Marvel, the card game, Marvel Snap, real hard. We got into Blatro real hard when we played it. Usually with these type of games, me and him are usually aligned. So I knew I had to check it out. The game is essentially you're on a row. Enemies are coming down towards you. You're shooting basically balls. Essentially, it's your bullets. And there's special balls that go out. You can have them bang off the walls. Special balls do, extra damage, or they break into multi-balls. There's one that grapples onto people, and then after it expels its energy, it just explodes and, takes out people around that person. There's power-ups you can get that it's more powerful if you bounce it off the wall. So it's essentially those games you see on phone ads, but actually a good concept. You have boss people that come down towards you, so you got to take out all the smaller people in front, then focus fire on them, and then if you have wall bouncing stuff, you're gonna probably need the wall bounce into them. The game goes into this is where it even gets closer to some of those phone games I've actually played. It goes into you take your money back. It's a roguelike sort of thing. I think that's roguelike deck builder, I guess it's called. You go back to town and you can plant things to get I guess experience points. I couldn't really understand the that part of it because I didn't really dive deep into it because I was trying to squeeze these 3 games in the hour that I had before I had to prepare. And then the final game that I tried out was Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I really like the feel of that game. I don't know if I'm any good at it. Probably not. But I was starting to get the flow of combat, and just knowing you don't just spam the attack button. The one thing with side scrollers I have a problem with is dodging a lot. Instead of just running through attacks. In this one, you can use your dodge to sort of go through people or through things and stuff like that to avoid damage. I was barely using it in the part of the demo, but combat flows great. It feels, like I said, it feels really good. It looks great for that style they're going for. Like a 32-bit, sort of like a retro look side scroller. The controls so far are very simple to learn, hard to master, in the sense that you got to be remembering 3 or 4 things. If you double jump, which is basically AA, or you can do ARB if you are a little more dexterous like that. I would think using the other button probably allows you to free up your hand on the other side to hit something else later on. So you can, A, L, B, and then, RT, or it was on PC and they were giving me Xbox controls. So, yeah. Yeah, that game looks good. I don't know if I'm any good at it. I don't know if I'll play through it or anything, or I'll get it. It was probably the one of the three I played that I'm not in on completely. So I think it's more because it's a skill issue for me, not so much the game itself. Yeah, so that's what I was doing today. You know, just building up an island in like a dragon, and then playing some demos. Like I said, I'll play through the ones that I downloaded, or most of them, and report in next week. I think everything ends at 10 a.m. tomorrow. I just didn't have any time throughout most of this week to get to most of them, but these were the three I had marked on my list of the ones I downloaded that I absolutely want to try out. And I got them and able to report them into you. The major thing is that they I hope some of them allow the demo to stay around for more than just this window. Because I think it would work good for them if they did that. But who knows? So if you haven't tried them out, try and see if the demos are still there. But I know the thing ends probably by the time you hear this, if you're listening to the podcast or the YouTube video. So, all right, that's all I've been playing. Probably gonna, like I said, have a little more reports on a couple more demos next week, on top of what I'm playing on stream, as we prepare for Death Stranding in 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks. So anyway, let's move on to the news. First up, probably my favorite story of the week. Mindseye, not this, but Mindseye developers heartbroken amid troubled launch as players report success with refunds and sponsored streams are canceled last minute. Yeah, so if you haven't watched it, Mindseye came out on June 10th and was basically a shit show for the whole week. Like, for those of you out there that was around when Assassin's Creed Unity came out, it was essentially that, but maybe worse, because on top of having all the really bad glitches and bugs and things like that, it was even worse than Cyberpunk's. Because both of those, Cyberpunk 2077 and Assassin's Creed Unity, were probably good games. This is also not a good game, according to most people that actually got to play it. The best description is, you know, I know it's a very, term there, but it's mid is essentially what it is. So as it says in the story here, most of the complaints are revolving around performance issues, bugs, glitches, broken AI, and game crashes. And they're getting refunds just like Cyberpunk. This conversation, for those of you not watching on video, PlayStation refunded it, and they were aware of this game's optimization and are investigating the situation. The only other game they ever said that about was the aforementioned Cyberpunk. One of the famous things that happens, I think I talked to Tom about this in Podcast Prime when we went off on a tangent, that Co-Carnage here, a streamer who gets a lot of sponsored streams and stuff like that, they literally pulled his stream, his sponsor, like literally as soon as he was going to go live. And some of these things are people doing the sponsor stream like couldn't keep a straight face while they had to do the ad read at the end for the game. It was just an awful launch. Like, it's probably even worse than Cyberpunk. In just, the way that yeah, this game wasn't even close to ready. Yeah, just reading the comment from Co. For the first time in my streaming career, I changed my title for a sponsored stream. I put in a profile button. I put in the command. That was at 8 o'clock sharp. My sponsored stream was supposed to start at 8. I opened up Mindseye, and as it was loading, my management contacted me and said, the sponsor does not want to do this right now. They would like to reschedule. And I said, oh, that's a first. So the sponsor decided not to do the sponsorship for now. And honestly, it sounds like for Mindseye, that was the right decision. So yeah. Yeah, a rough opening for the Bens. The former Rockstar developer, Grand Theft Auto fame. So we'll see if they fix it like Cyberpunk got fixed, or if it's just going to basically go away the way Unity basically went away. So we'll see. But this was the fun story to follow this week. If you didn't want to follow the jackass Splitgate guy apologizing, not apologizing, sort of fiasco that was going on. So I didn't put that in the news because I didn't want to give it any more air than it needed. The guy's just a moron. But yeah. And as Night Duck says in the chat, ooh, I forgot to put the background thing in. The funny thing about all this is that they sent it out like this, and nobody was hyped for the game anyway. So everyone just gets to dunk on it without opposition because A, there's no hype, and B, it is terrible. So yeah. Essentially, this was such a weird game release. But yeah. So moving on to another thing. I forgot this part. So before the game even launched, the developer, I don't know if it was Ben's or if it was Mark Gerhardt. Mark Gerhardt, the CEO of Build a Rocket Boy, was peddling the conspiracy theory that people were getting paid to shit on the game before it even launched. So that's why I pulled this story so I could remember this. IO, who's publishing the game, basically said, nope, we don't believe that's true, essentially. That it was a paid and concerted effort to trash the game in the studio. I think he was blaming Rockstar. I forget the full story, and it doesn't matter anyway, because it's not true. This whole launch is crazy. It was a weird thing to follow all week. So next up, Konami did a press start thing, which is, I guess, their like state of play thing or whatever. So they showed off Metal Gear Delta, so they showed the Snake vs. Monkey minigame that you've seen. And then we were introduced to a thing called Fox Hunt mode. It's a completely original online multiplayer mode that shares a world with Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. It is not just a reskinned Metal Gear Online. However, expect it to be its own new type mode based on the series' trademark stealth and infiltration mechanics. So we'll probably learn more about it, as it says, ahead of August 28th. Next thing they announced was Darwin's Paradox, which is an octopus game. Essentially, French developers again. Your whole goal is to get him back to the ocean, essentially. So, I'll wait to see people play this to see if it's any good. eFootball, which is their answer to FIFA. It hasn't. I don't know if it's really been strong in like a few years in terms of competition. So they brought it back, and they have Messi and Luis Suarez and Neymar and just getting names out there to get people around the world. America might not know so much, but around the world to buy this game. Then they announced eBaseball, MLB Pro Spirit, and it's a mobile game. People were kind of hoping this was Konami trying to make an MLB game, because MLB is not an exclusive license. So it was a disappointment that it turned out to be a mobile game. Yu-Gi-Oh! They sort of, had some news about that. There's qualifiers for the tournament they have coming up. They had some more news on the Suikoden 1 and 2 HD remasters. And it's going to be on the Nintendo Switch too. That was the big news. So I think that's a great way to play this game. And they had to tweak it to match the performance of the console. Obviously, they need to do stuff to make it, better than the PC. Suikoden Star Leap, which is a new RPG set in the same world. And it is another mobile game. This was a theme, Gradius Origins. Apparently it's 40 years old. It's coming to all systems. I think it's just a remaster of it. Deliver at All Cost they call it a thrilling action game where destruction, absurdity, and intrigue collides. You play as a down-on-his-luck courier with a fiery temper and a mysterious past who takes the solemn duty of delivery driver very, very seriously. Eden Zero, which is based on a manga that I've really never heard of before this. The demo dropped if you want to try it out. Full game's coming on July 15th. Survival Kids, which is probably most famous for being that game that froze during was it the Nintendo stream? It was one of the announcements. I think it was the Switch 2. I don't know, going back, I don't know if what they meant and what I meant with the remaster, going back this weekend, and everybody, audio listeners, was that they changed frame rate or whatever for the remaster to have it on PC and all that, and that they needed to tone that down to go back on Switch too. I think that's kind of what they were saying, and I kind of took it at face value. Maybe I shouldn't have. But anyway, Survival Kids is I believe it's the Switch 2 announcement? I think it's the Switch 2 announcement. Where this was the game where it froze. Where it was Nintendo. Where Nintendo's stream in the US froze. So that's what this is best known for. Apparently it is still coming out. And then they had Silent Hill F. Some more of that. Game looks real creepy. But I think the big news out of this is that Blooper Team is making a Silent Hill 1 remake. They got the go-ahead after how good Silent Hill 2 is, so hopefully they do it again. Blooper Team did a good job with Silent Hill 2 as far as I know. And, so I am not too worried about it, but Silent Hill 1 is definitely a game that needed to be redone the right way. Especially after you had all that success with 2. So we'll see if Blooper Team can do it. That was the big story coming out of this press conference. If anybody else does anything in the next week or so, we'll talk about it here. So next up, no surprise, Nintendo Switch 2 is outselling the OG Switch 2-1. I'm only saying that because this launch seemed much more frantic than than Switch 1 launch. you have such an install base already, and you just give them a better version of what they already love, and most people are going to go nuts for it. Um, Nintendo Switch 2 has sold already 3.5 million units in its first 4 days. Um, and it took about a little less than a month for Nintendo Switch 1 to do 2.74 million. Nintendo is projecting 15 million sales for the Switch 2 by March 31st of next year. Um, yeah, it's nuts in Japan. UK sales are low, or lower than the other big consoles. But the UK has always been a tough market for Nintendo anyway. That's true too. Yeah, that they underproduce. That's why the numbers are different. But they're. It's definitely for such a weird launch. It does seem to be a successful one. And after people play Mario Kart World for a while, they do start enjoying it. I saw a couple people change their mind after like 4 hours of playing it. It's like, oh no, this is really good. Like, and so hopefully there's another game in the launch window. There'll be that Donkey Kong game is good. But they probably got to get a Mario thing out there soon. Next up. I didn't realize they were both in there. Let me see if there's any other news in here about the Blooper Team Silent Hill 1. No, it's just basically the same thing. Silent Hill 2 released in 2024, so it makes sense if they're working on this. It comes out in like 26 or 27. So, yeah. Don't know why I pulled. This was me rushing after all those demos. So, final two stories here. Resident Evil Requiem will be playable both third and first person at launch. You can hit a button to switch back and forth between them. So, that'll be interesting. It's kind of a way to not commit to one way or the other, because Capcom tends to, with Resident Evil, or I should say Resident Evil developers, tend to do their games, their main lines, the 1, 2, 3, 4, not like Code Veronica and Zero and all that, because those are all part of what I'm saying here. Sort of break their gameplay into trilogies. So everything under the 1, 2, 3 Resident Evil window is the tank controls, the fixed camera angles, all the stuff we know and love from OG Resident Evil. 4, 5, 6 are the action-oriented ones, with 4 being fucking great, and then 5 and 6 just falling off a cliff after that. And then 7, 8 were first person. And so everybody was saying, well, 9 should be first person as well. But it looks like maybe they're going to try and have their cake and eat it too here. Because since they're going with named characters, like there's been rumors that Leon's in it. So he might be the main character or one of them. You already have shown Grace's face. So there's no reason to do the thing you do with Ethan Winters, where the whole reason it's first person is because you never show his face. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be pretty cool if it works really well. If the Switch, helps the game more than just feels like a burden. And final story. PlayStation Plus catalog is out for June 2025 here. So coming to Extra and Premium, FBC Firebreak, that's the Control multiplayer shooter. Battlefield 2042. Five Nights at Freddy, Help Wanted 2. The Hunter, Call of the Wild. Relove Katamari Reroll, and Royal. Euden Chronicles, 100 Heroes, Train Sim World 5, and Endless Dungeon. And then on the premium only is Deus Ex The Conspiracy. So those should all be out by January 17th, I believe. So, get this stuff tomorrow if you have PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium. Yeah, so that'll do it. Like I said, a little shorter than an hour. There wasn't much news unless if I wanted to get into a bunch of movie stuff, and a lot of the stories were just building off other stories, so there wasn't much new news to really pull. But yeah. So let me think. What's the schedule? So we're gonna have Retro Roulette, non-endurance run, regular Retro Roulette tonight, and then Thursday, Final Fantasy VI. Saturday will be Trails. Sunday, News Hour. So I think, what do we got? I think it comes out on the 29th. Let me look at a calendar real fast. Yeah, Death Stranding is next week. And Podcast Prime will be up on Wednesday for you guys to listen to. Spoilercast will be up as well on Tuesday. Good, we lined that up right. I had that set for Tuesday already because this podcast was coming up. So, yay. Good on us for not talking and lining it up perfectly. So the Expedition 33 Spoilercast will be up on Tuesday. Podcast Prime on Wednesday. And then we're here streaming live Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. Really, the only thing that doesn't have something coming from us is Friday, but there's probably going to be YouTube videos going up on that date. So be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the little bell so you know when a new video is uploaded. Do the same thing here on Twitch if you're watching live. So I think that'll do it. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you, Night Duck. Thank you, Metal Militia. And join us tonight for Retro Roulette. And we'll see you next time. Bye.